Okay, so Be'ezras Hashem, we are continuing with our shirim on the Ramchal's Adir BaMarom on the Ijer Rabbah, and we're now going into the second shlav of the Yichud Hagan. And like we said, the Ramchal stressed that as significant as this spiritual work is and the contemplation of divine names, for the sake of accessing connection to the divine, by way of the secret that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has created the letters in such a way that when a person contemplates the shemos that are inscribed based upon these letters, that the letters themselves have the capacity of setting in motion a series of cause and chain reactions that will eventually bring out a furthering of the expression of the infinite light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that can descend back down into the vessel-oriented grasp that the human mind has the capacity to grasp. On the one hand, it's a love velo lemidosav. The most significant thing to understand when it comes to Pnimiyas HaTorah is that one is always and perpetually reaching up directly to only HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself, b'chvoido va'atzmo, nothing but HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He is here, he is there, he is everywhere. All that exists in terms of the inherent relationship that we have with HaKadosh Baruch Hu is a love velo lemidosav. None of his traits, none of his expressions, no matter how lofty, none of the worlds, no matter how lofty, come anywhere close to a darga of chvaydo va'atzmo kavyachol. Every time we come to the ceiling and we feel ein daimelacha, that we grasp the fact that there is absolutely no sense of connectivity and that we can be aware of that, then we enter back into the place of ein aruch, where we come to realize again that we had no idea what we don't have an idea on, and we're perpetually growing in terms of what we can grasp and not know about what it means to try and connect directly to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But nevertheless, it's always directly to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and to nothing other than HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'lo lemidosav. On the other hand, we're fundamentally aware that it is impossible to reach towards chvoidei va'atzmusa kavyachol, that it's leis machshava tvisa beklal. The mind cannot grasp it. The lave cannot grasp it. There's no hasaga whatsoever. It's not nitfas beru'usa dliba. It's not nitfas with anything. The first postulate in the heart of any communication inherent of Pnimiyas HaTorah is the fact that we are not talking about the thing in and of itself. We are only talking about the levushim and the garments of that thing. So on the one hand, it's a love velo lemidosav. On the other hand, you cannot go directly a love, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu had to create midos. HaKadosh Baruch Hu had to create the sviros and the shemos and the olamos. So then what's the answer? How does a person grapple with this paradox? The path is opened up based on the writings of the Rebbe Shlita, based on all of the tzaddikim that came before, and expressed fundamentally in the writings of the Ramchal, is that we have to make up shara. We have to learn how to dance with the paradox. On the one hand, we have to go directly to him, capital H, which we cannot actually do. So what we have to do is we have to go directly to him by way of his characteristics, by way of his sviros, by way of the traits, by way of the letters and the tzimtzumim that he engraves in reality, that we can grasp it. Meaning to say, we're always running directly to him and only to him. There's no connectivity to anything but him, and it's always only been him. But at the same point, we're not brazen enough to conceive of the infantile spiritual mistake and the idolatrous impulse in feeling that we can actually grasp him. So all we try and grasp is him through his Torah. But when we access the Torah, which is the names of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which are the mitzvos, which are our midos, which are our experiences in this Welt, what we have to be aware of is that within this vessel itself rests the infinite and ungraspable light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Somehow, some way, in the radical secret of Emunah and the Razadayim Nusa, that infinite light that is ungraspable is present right here, right now. And when I connect to the Torah, I'm connecting to him. And when I connect to mitzvahs, I'm connecting to him. And when I'm saying the words of tefillah, I'm connecting only directly towards him. But it's specifically through the words of tefillah that I have the capacity to gain access towards that which I have no access to otherwise. That's the radical secret of Jewish faith. The osios, the asvan, the araisa, the shem, yud k, vav k, the dots and the lines, the nakuda and the kav, the secret of Ephraim and Menashe, which comprises the entirety of the Torah. There is a mark and there is an extension of the mark, and through the mark and the extension of the mark create forms and engravings and letters, which is the point in which we can gain access to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's the secret of these yichudim, and therefore the Ramchal wanted to mix up the order, because we're talking about this from the perspective of emunah, and every person should try. Every person should look. This yichud is published fully in three different places. It's published in Adir BaMarom, Machon Haramchal. It's printed in Yichud Hagan, that a Talmud of the Rebbe Shlita put out as a standalone sefer last year, and it's also printed in Sha'arei Yushalayim in Chelak Beis from Rav from Rav Samet, I believe. All three of those places explain and they do what the Ramchal didn't do in this book is that they combine all of the different letter permutations and they create it in a manual form of way. For our purposes, we're going to descend down into what we can grasp out of what we're reading without the necessity of understanding each and every word in terms of the permutations and the words, but for the sake of getting to the next shlav and to the next piece of Adir BaMarom and the Idraba, even when it gets difficult, even when we don't feel that we have a hasaga bichlal, especially when the tzaddik is telling us that we're not meant to have a hasaga on this, it becomes somewhat more difficult to remember why we're learning the sefer. If it's such a lofty sefer, how can we believe that it's going to be expressing its quintessential secretion of illumination on the lowest level of the person teaching it to you and reading it with you, and all of us who find ourselves stuck in need of the words of the Ramchal? So the secret is in the asvos, the osios machkimos, and reading the letters themselves and just moving through the words, and Amir Hashem will come to a place where these become things that we can remember. When Mashiach Tzidkenu is darshaning these secrets of transforming this world into a field and finding connectivity to HaKadosh Baruch Hu outside of the home, so then these words are going to illuminate on our spirits. Zakt the Heilige Ramchal. V'hinei tzarich lahachzir hayud atzmoi laor. I skipped. Okay, let's start with Yichud Hagan, Shlav Aleph from Shachas Shakai L'Sadeh. So this is Daf Samach Beis in the Marachon Haramchal edition. V'teda, and a person must know, Shebamakom Giloi Hashar Ra'oi Lios B'Sadeh. The Shar, the names of Adnos that populate each part of my vision, the left, the right, and the center, that become the Tara, that become the gate that is opened up with the Shem Havaya and Milo Yudin, which is the three Abin that come to open up the Tara and to create that place of the Hiskashrus and the entrance into the garden. That this gate is meant to really be opened up when a person is in a field. If a person wants to escape from this worldliness and enter into that place of min hamayim mishisuhu, where it's tashlichuhu, taskiluhu, where we come to find that comfortable place of calmness, so it's best for it to be in a field. And we spoke about this already, why the tzaddikim wandered, why the tzaddikim left civilization, why there was a displacement at the heart of self in order to benefit from the recuperating light of Pnimius Satorah. For a very simple reason, this is why the tzaddikim walked in the fields, because the fields create an openness to this type of experience. It gives a new insight and to go out to the sadeh for the sake of this, which is also the spitz level of dvekus. The soid ha'inyan, and the secret of the matter is as follows: Kareach sadeh asher baruch Hashem. That when Yaakov Avinu walks in to Yitzchak, Yitzchak Avinu smells him, and he smells him like the reyach of the sadeh that is blessed by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Chakat Tapuchan Kadishin, the entry gate of Malchus, which is the place of imagination. When Gan Eden itself, when the air of Gan Eden opened up, and Yaakov Avinu knew the hasaga of opening up the air of Gan Eden, and he entered into the room with Yitzchak, Yitzchak Avinu smelt it, and he understood that this is the secret of Gan Eden. So we see that in order to be mamshech, the oris of Gan Eden, and the avir of Gan Eden, down to the polluted light where we find ourselves, and to create openings and pockets and columns of air where we can breathe properly. So in order to do that, it has to be by the sadeh. It comes about like the smell of the sadeh. There's very, very many levels of what Gan Eden means, and gradations of Gan Eden, and colors of Gan Eden, and hues of Gan Eden, in accordance with each and every person, in accordance with each and every person's moment. And we know from the Arizal already, as it's explicit in Maimer Psios Shel Avram Avinu, as well as in Shar Kavanos by Kabbalah Shabbos, that there are processes between the bias and the field. The outside world is the world of the field, the inside world is the world of the bias, and as the Arizal describes in Shar Membeis, that in between the inside and the outside, between Chitzonius and Panemius, are gradations. There's the Heichal, and there's the Chatzer, and there's the Rechov, and there are different levels, but the distance of levels is the bias and the Sadeh. And the Sadeh is the secret of Tzmichas Ha'oros Hanizra'im Sham. And the secret of this field that is not the field of danger, which is the place of work of the whole, but it's the field Asher Baruch Hu Hashem, where the Arizal would go out and daven looking out into the fields, because it was the Chakat Tapuchan Kadishin, the unity of right, left, and center expressed in the color of the red, white, and the green leaf of the apple, which is the secret of the sanctified field of the holy orchard of apples, Chakat Tapuchan Kadishin. In this field, what grows are the illuminated lights of spirituality that are planted there, that the tzaddik ascends there. V'shamhu makom kabbalas ha'or hazeh she'amarnu, and this is where we can ascend up to in order to receive the lights, osesenu lo ra'inu, that are perpetually descending down, in spite of the fact that the world itself is not a ready receptacle. Nevertheless, the or of Mashiach, of Gan Eden, of Ruach HaPeinu Mashiach Hashem, is perpetually descending down. V'ha'emes sadeh hu bas zugol shel shakai. And in truth, why is it that we have to go into a sadeh? Because ultimately the light that we're coming to draw down is the light that is mashpia meyesod, from the secret of shakai, from shin dalid yud, and the yud represents the masculine tendency, and we know that the hey represents the feminine quality, and the secret that ish ve'isha shpuya b'neihem, that the ish is the yud, it gives over the potency of the original drop, and the isha is the hey, which receives and cultivates and expands and grows and develops. In this secret of the yud of the ish and the hey of the isha is the secret of the shechina, of the yichud of chachma and bina, of abba ve'ima, of trein lein and lemisparshin. And so we have the same relationship. We have shakai, which is shin dalid yud, which goes back already to the very beginning of Idra Rabbah, where we discussed about the difference between transforming that demonic field of kind of shin dalid and elevating it back to a place of hyperconnectivity in the secret of shakai, of the hiskashus of the Yesod and Malchus. And specifically over here, we unite the shakai, the shin dalid yud, which is the masculine expression, with the shin dalid hey, which is the feminine expression, which is the sadeh, which is the secret of the connectivity between the tzaddik and Malchus, kutshabricha v'shchintei. V'zeh atikun harishon shetzarich l'takein. And Mamela, this is ultimately the first tikkun that needs to be metukan. The individual has to enter into a mindset of the field where they unify shakai with the field to illuminate the field to become a place of or zarua letzadik elishrei lev simcha, in the sadeh that's nivarich from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, where Rus goes out to in order to prepare for the yichud with Boaz, which is the secret of the Leidas HaMashiach. Shem atzmam dalid oisi v'zeh soid ha'inyan, and this is the secret of the sadeh asher Baruch Hu Hashem. What does it mean? It's the field that's been blessed by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The word bracha, which is the gematria of 227 plus the 4 osios of the Shem Havaya, or the word bracha, is going to be 231 with the kola, which is the gematria of asmab. The asmab are the 4 permutations of the Shem Havaya, which means that when a yichud says to contemplate the yichud of asmab, first and foremost, it's the 4 permutations of the Shem Havaya, dependent on the spelling of the inner filling of the letters. So the first way is going to be the Shem of Yudin, which is Yud Vav Dalid, and then it's Hey Yud, and then it's Vav Yud Vav, and then it's Hey Yud, which is the gematria of 72, and then Sag is going to be Yud Vav Dalid, and it's going to be a combination of the fulfillment of the letters by way of a Yud and by way of an Aleph for the preparation of Zar Anpin that's going to be Niskala. So it's Yud Vav Dalid, Hey Yud, Vav Aleph Vav, and Hey Yud, which is the gematria of 63. And then we come down to the expression of the Shem Havaya Dema, which is the Mili of Alfin, which is Yud Vav Dalid, Hey Aleph, Vav Aleph Vav, and Hey Aleph. And then finally to the Shem Havaya B'Mili Heyin, which is Marasa Machpela, the secret of Malchus, which is Yud Vav Dalid, Hey Hey, Vav Vav, Hey Hey. All of those gematrias together is Reish Lamed Beis. That's the Shir Koma, so to speak, of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, of the Yuchud of the 4 permutations of the Shem Havaya in Asbab, and that's what we're trying to draw down into the field. We're trying to unite Shakai with Sadeh to allow the Yud itself to be mashpia, all of the Shemos of Havaya down below, to open up the locks of the Shemos of Adnas, to allow us to enter into the gates of Gan Eden, to break free from the Lahat HaCher, from Misapechas. And therefore the bracha, which is the bracha of the field, is the gematria of Asmab, which is 72, 63, 45 and 52 together. Shem Atzmam Dalad Oisios Havaya. They themselves represent the 4 letters of the Shem Havaya. The Yud is the Ab, which is the Milui of 72. The Hey is the Sag, which is the Milui of 63. The Vav is the Ma, which is the Milui of 45. And the last Hey is going to be the Miloi of Hey, which is going to be Ben, which is going to be 52. And when we take all of those Shemos, which is drawing down the Shem Havaya that's hinted to in the Yud of Shakai, and we bring it down into the Sadeh, so there could be a unification of the Yud and the Hey, that's going to be the unification that opens up the gate. U'lechein tzarich le'itchazek b'soid Shakai. A person has to first and foremost contemplate the Shem Shakai, contemplate the reality that there's enough in the universe for me, from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and that HaKadosh Baruch Hu causes the world to stop, and that's where all limitations come from. As we explained elsewhere, Shemit Parish Besoid, the secret of Shakai is the secret of Or Mayim Rakia V'Kuf Birchen, which we discussed. It's the process of the congealment of Or as it descends down by way of concealment, so that it can be revealed in a form formidable and graspable way. First, something starts as or. Or is a hasaga that cannot be grasped in a practical way. It is something ungraspable, yet we're aware that it's there. And then the or congeals down into the secret of mayim. Mayim is already a shtickle more of a concealment because the avir came first, and then comes the mayim, which is more something that is a little bit more graspable. And then rakia is finally going to be the expression of something, and then the kuf birchen is going to be the full graspability of it. It's the secret of the shir pashad kafel meshulashim ruba. That's the secret of shakai, the process of refinement of spiritual illumination into a practical expression of it. That's the 100 brachos. Shehem atzmam asmab. These secrets of or, mayim, rakia, the kuf birchen is the secret of 72, 63, 45, and 52, which is the yud, the k, and the vav k. This is the entire secret of the Seder Shtalshalos. We want to draw all of this down into the place of the sadeh in order to unify this worldliness and the externality of malchus with the illumination that comes about by way of drawing down the singular speck of that os yud, which contains everything. That's the secret of the bas ayin. Zak the Ramchal v'zeh kishet ta'aseh ha'hei b'soidu az tihiyeh yud k'moy shakai. And so what the Ramchal is revealing here is that the yichud of Kudsha B'richu v'shchinte is not simply Kudsha B'richu, which is shakai, unifying with Shlinte, which is sadeh, which is drawing down the illumination of content into the empty vessel of the field, but rather the field itself is going to be transformed into the place of content, in the sense that this sadeh, the shin daled hey, which represents malchus, if you look at the os hey, it's really a daled and a vav. It's a daled that's filled with a vav, and that's the gematria of yud. So we see that sadeh is really just a different expression of shin daled yud. The yud is just being expressed in a differentiated way, which is the secret of the congealment of malchus, which is in and of itself emergent from Zer Anpin itself. Zer Anpin is the secret of Shakai, Shin Daled Yud, and then that Yud congeals itself and it's mitzamsim itself to become Sadeh, which is the same expression, except now it's divided upon itself so that it becomes that even playing field. And that's what we have to do. This is what a person transforms the Hey into a Dalet and a Vav. And in the Yichud, a person is contemplating the shape of this Hey. The Dalet and the Vav of the Hey create the Yud, which is like the Shin Daled Yud. So we see that the Sadeh is also just an expression of Shin Daled Yud, B'chol ha'oires ha'me'irin b'Shin Daled Yud, and all of the lights that come down from the loftiest places imaginable down to the congealment within the secret of the Yesod, which is Or Mayim Rakia, and Kuf Birchen, which is the congealment process of the Tzimtzum Ad Kadei Lehisgalus Mamish, and that's going to be Niskala within the Sadeh, within the field, within that empty territory. Rakshi Hayud Shel Sadeh Hu Besoid Hey Kniskala El. The only difference is that the Yud of the Sadeh, which is really Shin Daled Yud, which means expression, expresses itself by way of the congealment in the form of the Hey, which is the Dal and the Vav, the 4 plus 6, which is 10 as well. The Imbe Bayis, and if a person finds themselves in a house alone, and they're only in their house, it doesn't mean that a person doesn't have access to the yichud. All it means is that a person has to open up the bias into a sadeh. I gave shir once based on the Rebbe's teaching on this. Rav Itchamayr Shlita gave shir on this nekuda of transforming the house into a field, of opening up that place of domestication into a place of mystery, so that we become displaced within our own home, which is the secret of Chanukah, where Oreach Nichnas, and we'll see how all of this is very much connected to the light of Chanukah and to the light of the Ner Be'ezras Hashem. And the Ramchal goes weiter, and again, part of it is going to be out of order, and we're going to be missing pieces, and also I simply don't have a full grasp of the matter, but that's not going to stop us from reading the words themselves. But I urge everyone to read the words themselves and to not base themselves on what I'm saying when it comes to this section or category. But if a person wants more, then they should look in the Svarim that I mentioned earlier. And if not, then a person should be aware that when it comes to this particular segment, not to say that every other segment is grasped any more than my inability to grasp this fully either, but here it's far more apparent, and it's an appropriate time to kind of remind that this is just one person's understanding of the text, which is explicit in front of us. The next stage of the Yichud. The Yud itself has to be transformed into Or. As we spoke about the Avir, which is the Yud that was caught within the air, and that light was concealed, and then we take the Yud out, and it becomes an Or Yud. And there's a need to transform the Or into a Yud itself, a revelation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's light. When it comes to the name Or, Aleph Vav Resh, which is the gematria of 206, when you add 3 with the Kolel, it's going to be 210, which is the gematria of Resh Yud. And why is there going to be Resh? So we're going to see. Hine Hayud Pshuta Hiasar. So this yud, we're aware of the fact that it's 10. It represents the fullness of this yichud between shin daled yud and shin daled hey. Ubehisrabes ha'oiris nasas malaya. V'gam make ba'atzma. Dina yud pa'mim vav daled pa'mim yud. Hare reish. Im hayud is reish yud. So how does a person come to 210, to the gematria of 210, which is going to be the gematria of or plus the three osios of or? When a person is contemplating the Shem Havaya, this Yud, that is coming down from Shakai, Shindalad Yud, and being Maslabish within Sadeh, which is transforming the Sadeh into the field that is blessed with a Kadosh Baruch Hu, which is the Hamshacha of the Shemos Havaya of Ab Sag Maben. So this Yud, we said, opens itself up. When it's enclosed, it's just the letter Yud, which is Shindalad Yud, which is the light in a concealed way prior to actualization, when it still rests by the light of Zer Anpin. When that light comes down and expresses itself in the realm of Malchus as a practical expression, which is Shin Daled Hey, where the Yud is broken up into two categories of the Daled and Vav. So then we have the Vav Daled of the Hey, which also spell Yud. So all of this is expressed in Yud itself. Yud is spelled out Yud Vav Daled. And once Yud is spelled out, Yud Vav Daled, so we have the two categories of Yud. We have the first Yud, which is 10 in of itself, and then we have the Hey of Sadeh, which is the Hamshacha of the Yud of Shakai, which is also a Daled and a Vav, which also equals 10. But this process of the elongation and the extension of the letter Yud itself is in and of itself the process of revelation, meaning to say, first and foremost, we have the Yud Pshuta. We have the tiny dot that appears, and that's the Os Yud, and all that is 10. And then what happens is the or extends itself by way of the gvuros that are taking shape within it, and the secret of the sha'ashuim, and the secret of the gvura that takes shape by way of this collision within that extends the territory from the outside itself. And then it becomes Yud Vav Daled. So we have this doubled category of 10. And then what's going to happen is that when something emerges from the intensification of the inside towards the outside, so there's a yichud b'derech haka'ah, one thing hits the other, and by way of the collision, there is in fact a revelation of something that could not have taken shape without that collision. This is the way that two opposites perpetually are revealing a singular thing that is higher than the sum total of those two opposites. And so what happens is the Yud hits the Vav Daled and the Vav Daled hits the Yud. When the Yud hits the Vav Daled, it's the Hakah is always when you multiply something by itself. So it's Yud times Vav Daled, which is 10 times 10, which is 100. And vice versa, when the Vav Daled hits the Yud, it's 10 times 10, which is 100. And 100 and 100 is 200. And that's the Resh. That's the Resh. And the Yud itself is the letter of the Yud prior to its expansion. And that's why it's going to be when a person contemplates on the word or with the three aleph that compose it and bring it to a gematria of Reish Yud. So this is the shame that a person is contemplating. The Yud Pshute is Asara, the Yud is 10. And when the lights double and move and grow and multiply within that inner interiority place, so it grows full. V'gam makab atzma. It develops its milui, which is the Vav Daled, and then there's a collision between the two parts of the Yud, which is really the secret of Chachma and Bina, Havin b'Chachma v'Chachma b'Bina, and then so the Hainu Yud Pamim Vav Daled. First, it's going to be 10 times Vav Daled, which is 100, and then it's going to be Vav Daled Pamim Yud, which is going to be 100. Hari Reish, you have 200. V'Im HaYud, so you have Reish Yud, which is the gematria of Or, missing 3, which are filled by the 3 letters of Or. Ubehispashet ha'avir derech hashar, and when the avir descends down by way of the gate, or a person enters into the air by way of the gate. And remember, the avir itself is the concealment of the light, because the yud, which is the or, is hidden within the yaor, which is chol haben hayolud yaoru tashlichuhu, that it has to be concealed unless you ascend back up into Gan Eden. And in that place of Gan Eden, it's still an avir of Gan Eden. The yud is hidden. So az yad davar bebechinas ner mitzvah. When a person has accessed this place, when a person has now begun to allow that shar to illuminate and to allow that light to come out, that air of Gan Eden to come out, what is happening now is a person has created for themselves the receptacle capable of drawing down the renewed light of Gan Eden. We're not yet at the point where we've drawn down the light of Gan Eden, because the Yud is still hidden in the Avir. But all we're doing right now is we're preparing the base principles of the self, the refinement of the Nefesh and the refinement of the Ruach, the refinement of the body and the refinement of the heart and their emotional states, so that we can prepare ourselves to be proper receptacles to draw down the light of the Neshama, the Chai, and the Yechida, which is the light of Gan Eden, which is coming down afterwards. When the light emerges from the gate, ner mitzvah. So a person becomes like the ner mitzvah. What's the secret of a ner mitzvah? Ner Ner is Roshei Tevos Nefesh and Ruach. What is the Ner? The Ner is the sod of the Gimel Yechudim Kiyadua. When a person is contemplating the rectification of these two lower parts of themselves so that they become a receptacle to receive the influx of the light that's coming down from Gan Eden Mamish, so what we're rectifying is the Ner. Ner Hashem Nishmas Adam. Ultimately, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has fixed the Ner. Every Nefesh and Ruach is perpetually fixed in its core from the time of creation of the world. It gets concealed and it gets congealed, but we don't have to fix that baseline principle of the Nefesh and the Ruach. The way and the neshama itself, but the neshama finds expression within the kalim of the nefesh and the ruach, and that's something that the nefesh HaChaim spends a lot of time being masbir. How ultimately the human being is composed of three parts. We have the nefesh, which is the body, we have the ruach, which is the heart, and we have the neshama, which is the mind, which hovers over, in spite of the fact that it finds expression within the vessels, it doesn't find expression within the vessels like the nefesh or the ruach, like the body or the heart, but rather there's still a hovering element, and it contains this kind of relationship by way of a distance. It's not identifiable with the ner, which is the nefesh or the ruach, but it's still not separate from it to the degree that naran and nefesh, ruach, neshama are all kelim pnimim, and they have a shared relationship with one another. So ner is a yichud that the Arizal brings down by Ner's Chanukah. That Ner 250 is the gematria of the Shem Havaya with three other names. It's the Shem Havaya with the Shem Eke, the Shem Havaya with the Shem Elokim, and the Shem Havaya with the Shem Adnus. Meaning to say you have Havaya Eke, Havaya Elokim, and Havaya Adnus. You have the Shem Havaya three times, which is the gematria of 78, and then you also have the Shem of Eke, which is 21, the Shem of Elokim, which is 86, and the Shem of Adnus, which is going to be 65. All of those together are going to equal 250. That's the yichud of the Ner. What does it mean to do the yichud of the ner? So it's corresponding to the three unifications that each and every person has to be able to perform within themselves on a baseline level of functionality, even prior to being able to encounter them or entertain them as possible spiritual tools which can be drawn down in order to be masig something. The functionality is, to a certain degree, the chitzonius of the hasaga, the ability to contemplate these matters and to realign myself through this new perspective of how HaKadosh Baruch Hu interacts in my life, is the secret of Yichudim Kamoischa as well. It's the gate into actually contemplating the letters, and the contemplation of the letters is also the gate to actually experiencing it. Again, as I humbly understand these principles. The first yichud is Havaya and Eke. Eke, which means it's a name associated with Bina and Moichin and a perception of future orientation. So Havaya represents who I am. Havaya represents the fullest expression of the self and the secret of that Banamatam Lashem Lekechem, that Zeranpin and Nukva, the Atzilus, represent what the individual is and where our encounter point is with all of that existing beyond us ad infinitum. That is who we are. We are the Ner Hashem Nishmas Adam. And so Ner Hashem means a full alignment of the self. So the Havaya, Yud Ke Vav Ke, represents what I'm trying to align myself to. When I unify Shem Havaya with Eheke in the Moichin, that means I'm aligning my mind. I'm taking my thoughts and the principles of my thinking, and I am allowing them to become a chariot to reveal the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and I'm contemplating HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And then I go down to the second quadrant of the self, which is the emotionality, the torso, which is represented by the Shem Elokim, which is the gematria of 86. And that reveals the secret of Havaya and Elokim, which is the gematria of 112, which is Yabok, which is the Yichud of Bracha and Kedusha, which is aligning HaKadosh Baruch Hu with my emotions, with my heart, with my inner experience. And then there's the final yichud of Havaya and Adnus, which is aligning HaKadosh Baruch Hu with my body, with my speech, and that's the full frequency of mind, body, and spirit, so to speak, kind of being unified with the Shem Havaya, and that's the yichud of Ner. All of this just goes into preparing the self on the level of Nefesh and Ruach, and then the Neshama also comes about in that preparation of the Nefesh and Ruach, because it's the third that comes about after the completion of the two, and that's going to be the preparation to draw down the light from Gan Eden. So b'hispashte ta'avir derech hashar, and with the extension of the light by way of the gate, then the thing is going to transform us into the secret of the Ner mitzvah. And the Ner is the secret of the Gimel Yechudim Kayadua, of Havaya Eke, Havaya Elokim, and Havaya Adnus. B'tzarech lehischazek b'hem, and a person has to battle and be strong with them. Again, we're going to see why the Chavraya needed to be malbish themselves in weapons, and why each and every weapon that the Chavraya Kadisha were going into were weapons that were used to encounter the clarification and the pushing back against concealment and the thoughts thoughts that come to detract away from the deep spiritual yichudim that were taking shape in order to refine and recreate and redevelop the basic semblance upon which existence was going to continue from there on out. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was engaged in something profoundly redemptive and something profoundly cosmic at the same time, so cosmically redemptive that when we ourselves open our mouths reading the words, we are tapping into the same cognitive redemption that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai opened up, and we're entering into the same gates of understanding and non-understanding that he opened up for all of us to be like him mamish, to be like the tzaddikim. We have to be strong, v'saidim nefesh v'ruach, and these yichudim of Havaya Eka, Havaya Elokim, and Havaya Adnos, which represents the process of the yichud that comes about with the reish yud, which is the secret of or that takes place when the yud hits the vav dalet and the vav dalet hits the yud, and they multiply themselves to be 200. A person has to be strong in this place to prepare their nefesh and the ruach. And the or, the light that comes down afterwards, is the neshama hanimsheches v'shara aleihem, meaning that's why you have the shame of the neshama included, the ner mitzvah of the Torah or, meaning the or, the neshama is included within the birur of the ner itself. And at this point, the body is ready, and now it's going to be a ner mitzvah. Now the body is ready to encounter, now the self is ready to encounter the battle for the sake of drawing down the proper oros from Gan Eden needed to rectify the concealment on the outside of our lives. And at this point, immediately when the tzaddik is able to contemplate enough in these permutations of the names, they uncover the secret of the armor, the maisa of the shirayon, that protective garment externally that protects the individual from the attacks of concealment and loss of mind. The side of Aleph Reish Shin Samech Hey, and the shirayon is the secret of Aleph Reish Shin Samech Hey. In the gematria of Aleph Reish, which we said is the secret of Or, which is the Reish. The Reish is going to be the 200 that comes about from the Yud times Vav Dalet and the Vav Dalet times Yud. In addition to Shin Samachay, the Shirayon is there to protect us from going astray, to protect the person from going down the wrong direction. Like we spoke, Mitzvahs Asay are practically getting up and doing something, like the Romach that we're going to see, the spear, which is an active weapon, which is 248, Bigamatria, which is the secret of Mitzvahs Asay, of Ahava orientation, and the Shirayon is the protection over the self of not becoming worse, not getting stuck within Klipa, and that's the secret of the Ar Shin Samachay, which is the secret of the Mitzvahs Lo Saseh. Ki Aleph Reishu Aleph Reish, because the secret of Aleph Reish is the secret of 1,000 and 200. 1,000 is Aleph, and Aleph is the beginning, and it's wedged in the end. When you go through the Aleph base, you come to the gematria of 400 by Tuf. Then you have Manspach, and that brings a person to 900. And then Aleph is going to be the 1,000, and that's the Koyach Mas of Higad Li'amal L'Teit Lem Nachal Espoyim, when you have the 28 osios of the Aleph base, where it goes from Aleph all the way to Elif. So then you go from 1 to 1,000, which is the secret of Zah Katan Gadolihia, that the number associated with Yosef HaTzadik is Tzadi Sofit, Tzadi and Tes, which is the gematria of 999, and it's the secret of Zah Katan Gadolihia, and that the Tzadik of Mashiach ben Yosef, the secret of Mashiach ben Yosef, that is going to ascend and become the secret of Mashiach ben David. Aleph Reish is the secret of Aleph Reish, and this is the shar that we discussed earlier when we got to that Aleph Reish. Earlier, it was part of the first level of the Yichud that we discussed in the secret of the Adnos Shazacharnu, and the three forms of Tara that are extended, and the gates that impose themselves on each side. The Hahei al Gabeim, and the secret of the letter Hey on top of them, which is the secret of Arnon, which is the Malach that is Shomer on this Pesach, the Hey the Havaya, and that's the secret of the Hey of the Shem Havaya. Again, all of this is illuminated when a person looks at the Yichud. Ki beramach yesh havav vehem remeach. That when it comes to the mitzvahs lois asay, it's oriented towards the Hey. When it comes to the mitzvahs asay, it's oriented to the Vav, because the Yichud of Vav and Hey is the Yichud of Zer Anpen and Nukva, is the Yichud of mitzvahs asay and Shmiras mitzvahs lois asay. It's the Yichud of Zachar and Nekeva, the Shemesh and the Levana. And therefore, it's also expressed in the yichud of the Hey by the Shirayon, which are the protective devices of the mitzvahs lo saseh, and the vav of the mitzvahs asay. Ach kulam nechlalim b'soid shar aleph v'ushar hagadol ha'oila la'elef reish. But in the end of the day, all of the different sharim unified together, and it becomes 1,200 ba'kol hu shiryon, and that is the armor that the tzaddik goes in with the awareness of the dina de malchus dina, that all of the concealment that I encounter in this world is ultimately just concealment that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has placed in the world. V'hu atzmo kashkeshet, and this is the secret of the kashkeshet. This is the secret of the armor, and it's also the secret of the protective devices that cover over the fish, which are like the tzaddikim, and that's also the gematria of Elef Reish, which is 1,200. Mipnei soida nun sharim shezacharnu, and the nun sha'arebina, which we opened up with earlier in the first level of the Yichud, which is oriented towards the shame of Ayan Bekoach Gedulasi Mincha, Nikra Gamkein, Shiryon, Kashkashim. Now we see the connection between these two forms of armor when we can understand the connection between this Elef Reish as well as the Nun Shari Bina. Vehim Kula Mine Ma'oros, and all of these lights that are coming out through contemplation mean that there are spiritual potencies that are emergent from within the mind of the thinker themselves by way of the Segula that is inherent within the bittul of the mind to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that through the contemplation of these Shemos, that it's a Poyel Dimyoni, that it awakens these Ma'oros above and they come back down to express themselves in Metzias Mamish. Un Shehigia Lahem Hachitzim, that when the arrows come at a person, and the arrows are always coming at a person, and it's the secret of the armor itself, and it's the secret of the handless beggar, and the secret of the Tikkun Klali, and the secret of David and Yehoinasan, and the secret of the emergence of those kitzim that are trying to kill the tzaddik in order to ensure that it is not mechaber with the world of the sadeh. So we have to protect ourselves against these arrows, and the arrows are yitlahatu ha'oiris im oiris v'yatzim misham ma sheyatza. And as a result of this encounter and this collision between the Shirayon and the Chitzin, the light is going to emerge and the Tikkunim are going to take place. Kikol inyan hamilchama. What are all these battles that the Chavrai are going through? Hu inyan hislahatus ha'oros. It's the shaking up of the Oros and the intensification of the Oros and the sparking of the Oros and the emergence of the Oros and the process of the emergence. Shehu simcha satorah. This is the simcha, this is the Mechamta shel Torah and the Asvahav v'sofa, which is the secret of the Sha'ashu and the Araisa that only come about by way of the Shakla and the Tarya and the Kushya and the Teirutz, which are all of these different weapons of the mind of the Shirayon and the Kashkeshet. Like we said, the Kashkeshet is the ability to ask a kasha, and the Chaitz being shot back is the ability to give a teretz, and the Kashkeshet is the ability to protect myself with a secondary kasha. And then there's the secret of the Tiyufta, and there's the Cherev Milchama of Torah, as the Ramchal is going to explain. It's all kol within the Milchama Satorah, within the Alecha Hargenu Kolayom, that we kill ourselves within the Torah, whether the Torah is in the body of the individual, the mind of the individual, wherever the Torah is, it's all a Milchama Satorah for each and every individual, no matter where they find themselves. We're trying to ensure that the sparking of the lights goes in the right way. That's the emergence of the light of Torah. From the 248 positive commandments, the tzaddik takes on the ramach, the spear, which is the kriyat shema, which is the ability to get up and do something and go and conquer more territory. And then the person is armed, and a person can enter into battle. And a person has the ability to draw down the lights that they'll draw down and to grasp what they're going to grasp. Then in accordance with all of the concealment that the Sitra Achra is going to try and throw upon a person because of the principle of the equality that must perpetually remain between light and concealment, so that Bechira continues to remain a formidable option in Avodas Hashem, where the biggest secret comes out from, which is Bina going down into Zer Anpin. So there needs to be the concealment. The Sitra Achra is going to try and conceal this light from an individual. And therefore we have our Zaina, we have our weapons, Laha'avir Hasitum Hazet, to get rid of all of the concealment. Kidilakaman B'siyata Dishmai, as we're going to explain Be'ezra Sashem. V'hin hu tzarech l'sim libo el inyan ha'esh v'ha'patish zacharti l'mala lahasig masha ro'ilai. And again, the Ramchal is bringing us back to previous thoughts and previous orientations and previous gematrias in order to properly hold cup in this remarkable secret, which is completely beyond my ability to grasp. Be'ezra Sashem.